Three, two, one. We are live for a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub. How are you doing this week, Seth?
I'm good.
All right, I hope you're ready for a big show because we have a lot to talk about this week. Let me give you a little sneak peek at what's ahead. So we're going to discuss the big announcement from Elon Musk this week that Tesla is going to stop selling FSD uh, subscription only as soon as next month. So we're going to discuss the implications of that and a slight little 2026 refresh of the Model Y. Nothing too crazy, but worth talking about since this is the best-selling electric vehicle in the world. Then we've been talking about this for weeks, if not months, but now it's official. Canada has come to an agreement with China for Chinese electric vehicles to come into the country, breaking the hold that the U.S. had on the Chinese EV coming to North America. Oh, I mean, Mexico is considered North America too, and they're going there, but the north. It's hard to think of Mexico as North America, knowing that I'm freezing my balls here and
Yeah.
it's nice and
Also, I
sunny.
think the Caribbean, like some of that is
Yeah,
considered-
you're right. Yeah, good point.
just the weather's just too nice there, though.
Yeah, it's too nice to be called the North. All right, and on top of Canada, the EU and China also had progress on the deal there. So it's a big break here for the Chinese this week. Then we discuss a Rivian getting really close to the R2 launch. We're going to talk about the Toyota CHR electric SUV that's arriving soon too. And as promised last week, I talked about this world-changing battery potential with the Donut Lab battery. That was kind of confusing. It's like too good to be true stuff. And I told you that I was still investigating it. And this week I posted my report about it. I talked to the CEO, did a lot of investigating, and I can give you a lot more details about it. But my take is that this battery is either about to change the world in 3 months or make this guy, okay, the CEO, look like a complete fool. We're gonna see that very soon. All right, let's start with the FSD here because that was a big change here. Yep. So basically, just simple as that, announcing that Tesla will stop. I'm quoting Elon here. Tesla will stop FSD selling FSD after February 14. FSD will only be available as a monthly subscription thereafter. All right. This is the context here is important, obviously, because Elon has been telling us for years. Well, he stopped saying it for a while because it's like too crazy of a lie even for him at this point. But that Tesla is an appreciating asset because starting since 2019, and his idea was that Tesla will keep increasing the price of the FSD package going forward as the features get better, leading to unsupervised self-driving, and that will accrue the value of the existing fleet because again, if FSD is costing increasingly more, and that was somewhat true from that moment, 2019, when the FSD package or enhanced autopilot, and it had different names for a while. Well, or the features were in those packages, they moved around those packages, but FSD was basically $4,000 at the time, and then it's continuous increases. Here we have a chart for those that are watching. It continuously increased up until 2022. And then in 2023, at Tesla's peak of vehicle deliveries and everything, price started going down from a peak of 15,000 to 12,000, and now today 8,000. So a sharp decline. So the idea of the appreciating asset was false. The idea of continuing to increase prices as FSD gets better was also not true. And then what happened around that time too, Tesla introduced subscriptions to FSD. So instead of having to pay $8,000 for FSD, now you can pay $100 a month and use it. So the two of them coexisted for a couple of years, and now it's apparently going away as soon as February 14. There's a lot of implications to that. Well, first of all, it's giving up completely on the appreciating asset thing. There's nothing that's going to appreciate now if it's just a monthly subscription. It's a software as a service. It's probably the worst thing that ever happened to software is software as a service, like
Agree.
everything. I mean, we used to be to buy the software, okay, and you pay for what you get, and then maybe it improves over time, maybe it doesn't. But if a company would improve it enough, it
You
would
buy a
make
new
a
one.
new version of it and sell that new version to you, which was fair game.
Yep.
But now, no, now it's like how it's all subscription maxing out, like. And there's a real thing. There's a subscription fatigue going around all software right now, all the subscription services. So maybe Tesla, the timing of Tesla's move is not the greatest, but there's plenty of other things that are also impacting this move rather than just like trying to optimize for profit here. One of these other things is liability. For years and years and years at Electrek, we've been saying, everyone's screaming it in the face of Tesla shareholders, that they're missing a big part of the story with FSD, is that the value that FSD is going to bring is currently nowhere near as close as the liability of the FSD, meaning the promise that it will deliver unsupervised self-driving on consumer vehicle. And if Tesla cannot deliver that, well, it's false marketing, and Tesla is gonna be liable for it and gonna have to compensate all these owners. And up until February 14, Tesla keeps accruing more liability with that by keeps selling that to people, and that's gonna stop now, because you can that liability won't exist for subscribers, because you're subscribing for the month that you're paying for. So you know what you're paying for. You're paying for FSD, the capability that it's delivering that month and the next month and so on. So you're not buying the promise of unsupervised FSD anymore, and that will help Tesla stop accruing more liability, even though they still have a ton. Um, there's also the idea of pushing the Elon's new $1 trillion package, compensation package. The first milestone on it is 10 million subscription. So 10 million subscription to FSD, it's a lot easier to get if you don't sell it anymore and everyone has to start subscribing to it. Now, to be fair said, like, we're laughing and everything, and I agree with you on that, but 10 million is still going to be hard to get from there, because
Yeah.
Tesla has a fleet of 9 million and a take rate of like low teens for FSD. So
Yeah. I wonder how they're going to tabulate that, because I know some people do FSD like only when they take long trips or something like that,
it's a
and then
good
they
point.
they go off of it. I wonder how they're going to say, 10 million is going to be 10 million over the course of a year, or 10 million all at once.
Yeah, I think once they have, like, in the same month 10 million people that are subscribing right now, I think that would count for it. But I don't know. It's we're not close to that anyway.
Not yet.
It's still yeah,
Got
yeah.
time.
But the next step, though, that's going to accelerate that greatly, and I think that's another factor in the decision of making that, is competition. So for FSD, didn't really have competition for the longest time, not just because Tesla had the lead on advanced driver assist system. I think it did have a lead on that, and probably still has a small lead on that front, but also because other automakers and other companies just didn't want to offer the service that Tesla was offering. This kind of level 2, that acts a little as a level 4, is marketed as a level 4, but it's a level 2 because it's supervised. It's not something that's has been like really attractive to automakers for a bunch of different reasons, including the liability that I was just talking about. But now you have Rivian with Autonomy Plus, and they're offering that for $2,500 and $50 a month subscription. Very different pricing than Tesla. Then you have in China, several automakers have similar advanced level 2 systems, but they're not charging for it at all in a lot of occasions, or they're charging just for certain features, and not nowhere near what Tesla is charging right now. So I think there's a lot of pressure on Tesla for a lower price there, and I think that's what's going to happen next. I think Tesla's going to slash that $100 a month pricing, maybe not on February 14, but not too far after that. Now there's another potential factor here, and I won't go into the details because Jamie just posted an article on this, and I haven't time to read it because it was just before the podcast. So I suggest that you guys go read it because I'm sure it's a fascinating article because Jamie is pretty good at that stuff. But there's this idea that Tesla might be doing that too because of the liability reason that I say that like Tesla won't be now selling you something that's going to come in the future, but rather something that you subscribe to right now. And the timing of it, February 14th, is the limit date for Tesla to respond with a plan to correct the situation with the California DMV and their misrepresentation of their system of a FSD and autopilot. So that may be a response to that. Tesla might tell the DMV, "Hey, look, we actually gonna stop selling full self driving to people. It's just gonna be a service they subscribe to, and right now that service is a level 2 system, as we've been telling everyone. So it is a big shift on how Tesla present this, and you know I don't think like Tesla stock was a bit down on the day and everything, but what does that mean? I don't know. But looking at more of a like the commentary around the announcement, it doesn't seem to have changed either side of the spectrum. Like the pro Tesla people are just like, oh, this is super bullish now. It's just like steady revenue for Tesla, while the bearish cloud was like more my idea was just this is actually bearish on Tesla delivering unsupervised self-driving on consumer vehicles because now it's just about the system and like maybe it gets better, maybe not, but Tesla basically stops promising unsupervised self-driving on consumer vehicle, especially on Hardware 3 and Hardware 4. So this entire idea that this is going to happen now, I think, should be off of people's mind for the most part.
Yeah, and if you extrapolate the price out, so what it'd be 1,200 a month. What's a typical lifetime of a car? 10 years, so $12,000 over 10 years. I don't think FSD will ever reach that $12,000 price ever. Like I think it'll go down in price as you do, especially with Rivian. What they're at half that
Yeah.
currently, and
No,
then
the price is going to go down for sure. There's no, I mean, unless they deliver unsupervised, then you can go up. But I just don't see that happening anytime soon. I don't see
anytime
Tesla
soon,
taking,
right?
yeah,
And
Tesla,
then Nvidia's giving it out for free.
yeah. Well,
You
not
know,
for free exactly, but yeah, they open source
right,
the open weight model and the simulator and the driving data, so you can basically for free, uh, you know, have a good base to have your own system to catch up to Tesla, basically.
right.
And from what we've seen from the first taker of that system, Mercedes-Benz, people are impressed already. So the pressure is there. So I think, and right now we already see it. Like for all the people, like we have Donald here, FSD is doing very well on my current road trip, and like I'm sure it does, and that's good. But for how impressive it is, not a lot of people want that. Not only people want to pay $100 a month for the car to do the driving, but you have to supervise it. It's just like, would you would you pay $100 a month for a Uber driver, but you have to look over his shoulder all the time? It's like, doesn't sound like a great situation for me. Like it's a little bit
No,
more comfortable than having to look over the shoulder of someone. You're, nicely seated in a comfortable Tesla seat, but it's the same action really. So yeah, even if we've reached the value proposition for level 2 uh, system, like it's as good as a level 2 can get with supervision. The next step is achieving unsupervised system, and but that step is bigger than any step that Tesla's taken before by a wide margin. And Elon admitted it just a few weeks ago, but he admitted it in the context of other people, specifically Nvidia, launching their system. So like he admits it when other are working on this, but not when Tesla is working on it, which
right. I
is
thought that was
it's very telling.
either, yeah, poor
Yeah.
taste slash disingenuous.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to read Jamie's post, but the idea is it might be a way calm down the DMV regarding, like, show that they are taking steps in the right direction with the DMV. But like I said, there's a bunch of different factors affecting this, including specifically competition and liability. I think is are the two main one. All right, moving on. So Tesla is not exactly known for making model year update like most other automakers, but in recent years, it has oftentimes slightly bigger refreshes and model year update with an actual new year, and this is what's happening with 2026 with the Model Y in the US and Europe getting and China getting a slight update. So everything I'm going to tell you about right now is all only for the premium trim. So for those of you who don't remember, since the launch of the standard stripped down, decontented Model Y and Model 3 late last year, there's now two main trims of the Model Y: standard, which used to be standard range, but now it's about the features inside the vehicle, standard and premium. And then after that, you have your powertrain options, which are, smaller battery pack or bigger battery pack, rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, and then performance version. So now everything, all the updates are just for premium, which makes sense because the standard was launched just a few weeks ago, which a few months ago. All right, so third row is making a comeback. Third row 7-seater is making a comeback to the US. Of course, there was a third row in the Model YL in China a few months ago, but this is not a Model YL. It's not an extended base version. It's the same Model Y. They just fit a third row in there, just like they did with the previous version. For those who don't remember, there was an option for somewhat short period of time for a third row in the US. In Europe, it was a few months it was offered, and same in China. But the take rate was so low that they canceled it, and they didn't relaunch it right away with the refresh Model Y that was launched early last year. Now it's making a comeback for $2,500. You get this tiny little. I mean, it's hard to tell on this picture here, but I mean, it's so small. It's ridiculously small.
It doesn't look terribly comfortable either.
No, it's for children. It's for children, and even then small children. If you're getting getting to their teens and growing, it's very small. So again, I don't think that's going to be a very popular option. The Model YL is even the Model YL doesn't have a very impressive third row, but it's significantly more usable than this. So I don't think it's going to be a big feature or anything like that. But there's a few other updates. Now you have these new 20-inch wheel option. It's the same design, the Helix design, but they're now in gray instead of being like a lighter gray, silver, chromer color. I think it looks good. I think it's a good change, even though very small change. Now the biggest change, I think, is the black headliner. Now all premium get a black headliner instead of the gray lighter one, and looks good. Looks great on. Did I put the picture of the white one? Oh yeah, with the black interior or white interior, it looks great. Big upgrade in my opinion. I just got a new Model 3 with the lighter one, and I wish I could retrofit them to this inliner. Other update, you have now the 16-inch higher resolution display that was launched in the Model YL and the new Model Y Performance. It's now making it to all the premium versions. And finally, the badging is now black badges rather than chrome ones. So the chrome delete is now complete. Even the little dual motor badge in the back is black. So yeah, nothing crazy, but slight update to the best-selling electric vehicle in the world, worth noting.
Yeah, I think those third row seats look worse than the last third row seats. The last third one looked a little bit softer or something. These kind of just look like a board.
Yeah, they cannot be very thick. There's just no room for that. No room at all. All right, moving on from Tesla news. And if any one of you want to ask us a question or anything like that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more news items to discuss, and then we're going to jump into the comment section. So if you have any question for us, I see William is already there posting a bunch of stuff. Hi, William. We have René Pouliot also in the chat. Donald is here. So, you guys have questions, you could put them in the comment section right now, and we can get to it in just a few minutes. But now let's start out the big news that broke this morning. We've talked about it earlier this week as we expected it with May, the Prime Minister of Canada, going to China. And then in the last few weeks, there was a lot of discussion of negotiation between Canada and China about a new trade deal, and that the new trade deal was specifically involve electric vehicles. So, quick reminder: Canada followed the US in 2024 with implementing 100% tariffs on Chinese EVs. The goal was to, follow the US in protecting the US automotive market, not market industry, which is also linked to the much smaller Canadian automotive industry, uh, both on the supply level, but also a few automakers that still have production, but a lot less production of electric vehicles in Canada, especially since the recent trade war with the U.S. A few of the investment have shut down in Canada. So yeah, we did that, and then Canada and the U.S. went hostile on trade in Canada under Trump, resulting in tariffs on both sides on electric vehicles. So now we found ourselves in the second half of 2025, and well, basically the whole of 2025, having a lot fewer options for electric vehicles in Canada since most of our EVs came from the US. So that created a very bad situation in our goal to accelerate EV adoption, which we haven't given up in Canada, unlike in the US. And China started becoming a lot more attractive now because, all right, if our biggest deal partner is not is being hostile with us, might as well go with China. So that's what just happened. So the deal basically involves reducing the tariffs on Chinese EV from 100% to 6.1%. So massive difference. However, there's an annual quota, which right now is at 49,000 units, which is only 3% of the Canadian market. So it's very small. But the idea is that it's going to increase over time. It's going to increase over time based on investment from Chinese EV companies in Canada, not necessarily in production itself of EVs, but also like supply chains of those EVs. So that could be very interesting. Literally talking about like joint ventures. They're talking. So they kind of like taking the Chinese approach.
Yeah,
They are just copying that, which pretty smart. Like, and
it worked for
even
China.
though, yeah, and with China is like China has the biggest auto market out there, so that's where what that was their carrot. Like, come, you want to have access in our giant market. We don't really have that in Canada. We have a rich market, but we don't have a big market. But we do have also a lot of resources that goes into batteries for electric vehicles. So there's a dual approach here. That all right, the joint venture is going to be actually like on the supply chain access, and then at the same time you guys can compensate that by selling us EVs, which we actually need at this point. In exchange, China is lifting restriction on canola seed from 85% to 15%, and on lobsters and crabs. So the Chinese gonna get some Canadian lobsters and crab again. Good for them. I
That's
mean, I'm
such a
excited
weird
for this.
trade.
I cannot lie. Yeah, it's a strange trade. I cannot lie. I'm pretty excited about this. I mean, I'm gonna get to drive a bunch of. I mean, I've been to China twice last year for the first time, and I've been extremely impressed by the electric vehicles they have there. Extremely jealous of Chinese buyers, honestly, and I wish we have them here. And I understand the fear, like the Doug Ford, the Prime Minister of Ontario, the Premier of Ontario, um, is very unhappy about it because, well, obviously most of the auto industry in Canada is in Ontario, so it's like the rest of the country is not going to be affected much by this. Ontario's might take a hit if they cannot compete with Chinese EV, but that's the thing. If they can compete with them, like, what's the point? You have, are you going to just try to sell to the Canadian market, which is a very small market, or are you going to compete on the global stage, which I think was the goal? But we cannot compete on the global stage in Chinese EVs with Chinese EVs, and part of that is because we're not competitive with them because we don't have to be in our home market. So, if anything, I think long term this is going to change the dynamics and make it a lot better for the local auto industry. In fact, much like the Chinese learned a ton about auto manufacturing with joint ventures from foreign automakers coming in. I think we could do the same in Canada to bring back some manufacturing expertise with the Chinese coming in here with a factory, and then we learn from here. Our workers learn from here, and like anything, our workers then go on other companies and help out. Like this is how we improve. And I was shocked. Set I was like going on X and going on local media outlets here, looking at all the opinions on the deal, and it's all just fear mongering. It's like, all right, it's like a new world order now that we are just bending to the Chinese will and everything like that. And like I I don't like China has their problems for sure. You know, it's a one party system. It's not great at that level. They have humanitarian issues and everything like that. But all the arguments of those people was like Mark Carney couldn't get a deal done in the U.S., so he went to China. It was like uh, I don't. I think Mark Carney really wanted a deal with the U.S. because it's still our biggest trade partner. I think the problem right now is in the White House. It's very hard to make a deal with the U.S. And also, if your problem is with human rights issues in China, I mean, I would have problem with some human rights issue in the U.S. too right now.
Yeah,
It's
we've ceded all high ground. There's no,
exactly moral
I
high ground. Yeah,
yeah, I don't think you can argue with this decision, especially with the quota 3%. I mean, that's really kind of a slow start.
yeah,
But it could turn into a big thing. I mean, I think Chinese EVs are going to be quite compelling, and 3% of the market, but that's also a big percentage of the EVs, right? Like,
yep,
is it like 20% of EVs or something
pretty
right now?
much. Yeah.
So that's a big chunk of the EVs being
Hmm.
sold, and that's going to hurt Tesla. And
Well,
this is
that's the thing I don't know though, because Tesla used to sell Chinese EVs in Canada, so I don't know if they count within that percentage if they can bring back or if it's for Chinese companies.
uh,
Like I don't know exactly how that's gonna work. Because then like if you let Tesla bring back their Model 3, Model Ys from China, they can fulfill that 49,000 pretty quickly. Minus maybe some brand damage that makes people not want to have Tesla in Canada these days, but uh, like I'm saying, like who could benefit quicker from that would be Tesla because Tesla already has an entire infrastructure built in Canada, and they can just import their Chinese EVs.
yeah, but I mean, there's not really as many compelling competitors like Xiaomi and
Hmm.
BYD. Like, they don't exist in the US. They didn't
Yeah,
exist in Canada really until now. Like, now there's going to be some really good inexpensive competitors to Tesla, so it's going to be
yeah,
harder to even sell the Chinese Teslas.
exactly. Yeah, you're right. I'm sure that BYD is probably going to be the first one to move in. They have the most experience expanding globally, but it's going to be interesting for the US now because you're literally going to have like BYDs in Mexico and then BYDs in China in Canada. So you're
Surrounded.
surrounded by cheap Chinese EVs. And from what I'm understanding, and like, please correct me if I'm wrong, apparently I'm hearing, and we've talked about this before, said, but you can go buy an EV in Mexico
Oh yeah,
and bring it back to the US and no
title it.
tariffs and you're fine.
Yeah, you can put a title on it.
Mm,
Everything. You can legally drive it. And my understanding as well. Like,
yeah.
it's not like straightforward or easy, but I mean, it's straightforward. I guess. I
So
don't know.
I'm going to Mexico um, next month,
Nice.
and BYD is trying to get me into a BYD Shark.
What is the
They're
Shark? Is that the cheap one?
There's the plug-in hybrid
Oh, okay.
pickup truck. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
like 100 something kilometers of all electric range, and then gas. Um, which for where I'm going on the Riviera Maya part of
Hmm.
the country, and there's charging infrastructure there is not great, so I prefer that. So I can for the day to day I can charge it at my Airbnb, get out, and then on if I need to do a longer trip, I can use the gas if I have to.
Nice.
All right. Then on top of Canada, you have the EU and China, which already a bigger agreement when it comes to electric vehicles. The tariffs were instead of being 100%, were up to 35%. but there was a wide range, so you could negotiate the tariffs based on basically like um, how much the government was actually helping you. So, for example, Tesla has tariffs on their Chinese EV being exported to Europe, but they were pretty low, their tariffs, because Tesla is not a Chinese company. And it still benefited from the Chinese government quite a bit. They got like low interest loans and all that, but not as much as other Chinese automakers, let's say. So I think Tesla and BYD were the ones with the lower tariffs, and then some of them went 20%, 30%, all the way to 35%. Now they are negotiating another deal with the European Commission that's going to be a price minimum, a floor price instead. So to avoid any kind of like dumping of EVs out there, you're going to commit to like, I'm not going to sell this car for lower than this price. And so instead of having to pay at the port the tariffs, you don't pay any tariffs, but you are not going to be dumping any cheap EVs on the European market and disrupt the auto industry there, which is critical, especially in Germany and France. Um, so my understanding is that everyone is happy with that. It's like so, and it should help automakers there accelerate EV adoption from Chinese automakers there. But they are like I said, Europe is not there wasn't that big of a deal because they are already a little bit more open. And there's several Chinese automakers already made investment in manufacturing in Europe. I know BYD has in Hungary factory coming up soon. So, but still progress both in Europe and Canada. So worth noting. All right, the Rivian R2, which is arguably the most anticipated EV of 2026 and should launch soon because they were talking about early 2026, not exact timing other than that. But this week, Rivian announced that the first validation units are now rolling off the production line. So we've seen EVs. We've seen the R2 being tested for months on the road. So these are not like the first test vehicle coming out. Validation units are vehicles that are built on the production line. So they are basically production vehicles. They are just there, but they are there to be validated, both for validating the production process, but also for crash unit for safety, the crash test, and like the EPA rating and all of that. So I think this is a step in the right direction. And at the same time, when RJ Scaringe, the CEO of Rivian, made the announcement, he said that we're going to start deliveries to customers soon. So a lot of people have been speculating that it would be very early in 2026 that the R2 would launch, but this kind of helps with that. I don't know. At this point, I would think probably like late Q1, early Q2 would make sense because it's still going to take a little minute for these validation units to go through all the processes that they need to go through. Um, but yeah, they're almost like sellable vehicle at this point.
Do you have a reservation for one?
No, like I kind of given up putting reservation on cars anyway because
Yeah.
especially on US cars because in Canada it's take a year or two to get there anyway after that.
Yeah,
So
you had an early Rivian reservation and you weren't even
uh,
able to take advantage of it for years.
it took like 3 years for them to tell me to configure, and then by then I was like, moved on really. You have one, right? Under
Yeah.
you think you're gonna go for it?
I don't know. I just
You
got
just got your
EQS. I don't know. If I get rid of my Tesla, if they have, I don't know.
You got a good price on the EQS.
I got an absurd price. I can't believe how cheap it is.
Yeah.
Like
So
45K.
Just switching it up wouldn't be like that worst thing. But would you like the R2 is a weird vehicle because the R2, like a lot of people are saying it's a Model Y competitor. It's probably going to be a little bit bigger than a Model Y, I would assume.
Definitely higher. It's definitely going
higher.
to ride
Yeah.
more like a truck than a car.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what like so. I'm giving up my Rivian basically. So what I didn't like about the Rivian is that it doesn't drive like a car. It drives like a truck. And, I go off road maybe, 2 or 3 times a year. Not something I do on purpose too often.
It
You know,
sounds like you crashed your car to it.
no, sometimes like you're navigating. For instance, there's this place I go in Vermont that it just all of a sudden the road turns to dirt, and I don't feel comfortable in a Tesla, for instance. But in the Rivian, it felt great. So, but that doesn't happen that often. So the EQS actually has the SUV has like an off-road mode. It's fine. They have big tires on there. So in those instances, it does fine for the off-roading. And then it's quite fast like a Rivian, but it drives like a car. So when you're going on the highway, you can go 80 miles per hour. It doesn't feel like you're going insane. So uh, I think that's just more for me. I mean, I love the Rivian. It looks great. It's fun, but it just doesn't drive like a car on the highway or on
Yeah.
streets, and it's not as fun.
Hopefully, the R2 is closer to that with its smaller
Yeah.
size. It's a bit boat like the R1, but
Yep.
yeah, I understand what you mean. For me, I think the biggest disruption is one, Rivian might become a sustainable company eventually
Right.
with that, and that's shame because
Hmm.
not a lot of other companies outside of China have done that, and Tesla, obviously. So if they can do that, I think it's a big deal. And then on the market incumbent, it's specifically Tesla. I think it's gonna put a lot of pressure on the Model Y at the top end. So at the profitable side of the Model Y, I think with the R2, the BMW iX3, the Mercedes-Benz GLC, all those vehicles launching basically the same at very attractive spec, all a little bit more expensive than the Model Y, but still in the price range at the higher end of the Model Y. I think are going to put a lot of pressure on Tesla. And normally, I would say great competition. Tesla's probably going to have to like strike back with something uh, at the product level. I mean, but obviously we don't expect. Tesla is now all in economy and stuff, and striking back for Tesla now is more on a political front. I feel like with you know Elon backing Trump to remove the incentives and all that. I think that he knew that that would benefit Tesla in the long run and hurt companies like Rivian who are just trying to right now to ramp up production. All right, another electric SUV, though on the smaller side that's coming, is the Toyota 2026 CHR, the new mass market global EV from Toyota, a rare global EV. Toyota has been big on the Chinese market, launching new vehicles there all the time. In global markets in the US, it's the BZ4X that's been the primary product that they released, and it's been a flop. Let's be honest about it. Like just the people that are buying it is because they're giving it away. At one point, said it was like $250 a month lease that you can get the Canadian. So that's like
Wow.
basically $200 US. So if you were coming from any car, it's basically free after fuel
Gas
saving.
savings. Yeah.
Yeah. So they sold a bunch like that, but I don't remember like a lot of Ubers here have it, for example, because it makes a ton of sense for Uber. You basically have no cost to you're printing money. But I would ask them every time like, how do you like the car? And like, yeah, it's a car. There's nothing special about the BZ4X, nothing great, nothing. Yeah. But the CHR is a big upgrade. First of all, looks way better, uh, a lot more refined, and also the same battery pack, about 75 kilowatt hour battery pack, but it's expected to be a little bit more efficient than the BZ4X, and it comes with NACS native, so also a big upgrade. 150 kilowatt DC charging, so nothing huge on that front. All-wheel drive, powertrain available, 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. Wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Not every car have that these days. You have bigger wheels, bigger 20-inch wheels option, but the price is expected to be also quite attractive. They're talking about starting under $35,000, so that would be quite interesting when it comes to market. And Yeah, it's supposed to launch very soon, so they're releasing the latest image right now. Looks pretty good.
Yeah,
Kind of reminiscent of the BZ4X, but just a little bit more aggressive looking.
go higher, right? Yeah.
Yeah, a little higher, more rounded, hopefully a little bit more efficient. All right, the last thing I want to talk about, we discussed it a little bit last week, but it's Donut Lab battery. Like we discussed last week, it was unveiled at CES. It caught fire, the news went everywhere pretty fast, unlike most battery breakthrough news. Most of the time, like it used to. I remember the early days of Electrek, we would post about those and they would do very well. Everyone would look at them and everything, but we kind of got a fatigue of posting them because uh, even though like it gave a lot of people hope, it was kind of false hope because of the most of the time it just don't pan out because either the longevity wasn't good, the cost wasn't good, there was a material that couldn't be scaled, there was always something. Now the reason why the Donut Lab announcement took fire, it's not on just because the spec were crazy. The spec were definitely crazy. 400 watt hour per kilogram solid state battery that has 100,000 cycles. Like Seth said last week, that's basically like 200 and something years if you charge it once a day. It's absolutely insane. Um, the cost supposedly lower than lithium batteries. Um, the charging, 5 minute charging on this thing, just everything sounds too good to be true. So normally, like just like any other announcement, we just put it in the trash can. But this time, the thing that forced us to report on it and forced all the entire industry to take a look is that they said that it's in production right now, and it's going to be in a production electric vehicle, the Verge motorcycle, this quarter. So that forced us to pay attention. Now that doesn't mean that it's true, but I had to take a look, and I did. I did a whole investigation. I had a lot of people help me. A lot of expert sent me things. I appreciate every one of you that contributed to that. It was very helpful because I'm obviously not a chemist nor a physicist, but and also that we don't have the chemistry on that thing because they reveal all the specs almost and say that's in production, but they refuse to tell us the chemistry, which is a bit strange at first look because like if you say it's already in production and you say that it's going to be a production vehicle in a few weeks, well in a few weeks anyone can buy the vehicle, uh, open up the battery, test the battery, reverse engineering it, and all that. Um, so I had to talk to the CEO too. I wanted to talk to the CEO and I did. So it's Mr. Um, it's Marco. I have a trouble with his last name because it's a Finnish last name, but Marco Lehtimäki. Sorry if I messed up his name, but yeah, I talked to him to get I tried to get more details. He wouldn't be giving me. He didn't want to give me more details. Didn't want to talk about the chemistry, but at least he gave me some explanation for for that and how things are gonna roll out going forward if he's right. So first off, let me give you some background on Marco because this is not just a random guy yelling at the world, I have a battery that's going to change the entire industry. And to be clear, it's if this is true, it changes everything. If it's true, it's commercial airplane are now in play. Electric commercial airplanes are getting electrified. Energy storage is now going to be much cheaper. Like instead of amortizing a mega pack like a Tesla mega pack over 10 years, you can do it over 100 years. It's going to lower energy cost across the world. And your even your cell phone battery is going to last like a week. Like it's like everything's going to change from that if it's true.
If it's
so
true.
so Marco, who's Marco? Is he just some random guy yelling that I have a battery that's going to change the world? No, he's not. He's actually a legit entrepreneur, a computer scientist by training. He actually built a no coding app builder back in the 2010s, way before vibe coding was a thing that people would talk about. Like nowadays, like everyone has an app that they built with no code, but he actually built one of those. Not the sorry, not an app without code, but he built an app builder that didn't require coding knowledge from the user, and he sold that to SAP, which is one of the biggest companies in Europe. So he had a successful exit from that, and then from there, with the money and everything, he became a serial entrepreneur and investor, investing in a bunch of different things. And his biggest or his most well-known company is Verge Motorcycles, which build electric motorcycles and has real product on the road. About 100 bikes have been delivered over the last few years, especially in Europe. So he's a real guy, basically betting his reputation on this, and that's my main point on all this, because we don't have the chemistry. So I had to do an investigation on this battery. And my investigation has come up with a few things. Because it's kind of strange that with Toyota, with QuantumScape, with Mercedes, with CATL, with BYD, with all these major companies investing heavily in solid state batteries, that a small startup would beat them all to market with a production battery cell. Extremely surprising, right? So I thought I'm going to investigate the claim. I'm gonna find that it's just based on nothing and it's just a scam, and that's gonna be it. But my investigation actually didn't prove that. My investigation showed that this is based on real research, backed by government money from Finland, and a real, peer-reviewed uh, breakthrough, if you will, in nanostructures. So what I found is that Marco, through Donut Labs, invested in a company called Nordic Nano out of Finland. And this company called Nordic Nano is led by chief scientist Bella Busculte. Okay, I have her name here. I'm sorry if I'm messing it up. It's another tough name for my French tongue. But this investment kind of went under the radar. Like when I wrote this article earlier this week, it had 184 view the press release that of the investment, and that was done in October 2025, so very recently. Now it's not clear if this is like a takeover of the company, if it's a controlling stake that they bought, or if it's just like an investment and then they have a licensing agreement. It's not clear, and Marco didn't want to go into the details. In fact, when I brought up to him Nano Nordic and I asked him to confirm this, he was very coy about it. He said, "Oh, you know what? Nano Nordic is more of a solar company than a battery company." And now I have to, I have to push back on that, because actually, even the announcement of the Nat Labs investment in our Nordic mentioned both solar and energy storage, like batteries. And Nordic Nano's website mentioned that its breakthrough works for both solar and batteries as well. So, what is this breakthrough? Again, if I get anything wrong, I'm sorry. I'm no chemist. This is based on my research on the research papers that were released by Bella and my some expert that helped me figure that out. So she was a researcher at Tempered University doing a PhD on amorphous titanium dioxide nanostructure. So my understanding is that titanium dioxide is the stuff that you will find in like sunblockers and paint. And she figured out a way to use that in a new form, an amorphous form, a porous form, a breathable form, rather than a hard crystallized format. And at the atomic level, like a very, very much at the base atomic level. And the idea of that is like using that as a solid state, rather, it's still solid. It's not completely fluid. So you can still call it a solid state, but it instead of crystallizing and being solid and breaking, having the pinhole problem, that's the most common problem in solid state batteries, where it creates pinholes and you lose capacity and degrade much faster. So the idea of 100,000 cycles would work with that, with the amorphous state of the titanium dioxide would be breathable and would basically already be like a Swiss cheese. So the pinhole problem is not a problem anymore. It's kind of a feature that's already exists in the battery, in the chemistry of the battery. Also, the chemistry stores energy at the pseudo-capacitance level, which acts kind of a Velcro where the ions stick to the surface rather than deep inside the material. So that enables a better charge and discharge rate, explaining the 5-minute charge battery. And at the manufacturing level, so Nano Nordic use what is called a nanofluid printing process, known in the solar industry, is already used in the solar industry. Some companies have tried to use that in the battery, so they call it like a battery screen printing technology. But As far as I know, that hasn't worked. I know that one company in Germany tried it, Blackstone, and they went under because when they tried to scale, there was too much scrap, and that increased the cost of the batteries. So yeah, these this is what I found that what the breakthrough will be based on. Again, when I asked Marco about it, it didn't want to confirm any of it. It was like, yeah, we I can tell you about that. So this is my idea of what the chemistry is. My idea is like this sounds like a sodium battery, a sodium solid state battery with titanium dioxide amorphous nanostructures to hold it together. Whether it's that or it's not that, I don't know. But at least I found a direct link between Donut Lab and that battery solar conductivity breakthrough research. So there's there could be and the Finnish government invested in that company in nanostructure, and so it's backed by both university level research and government funding. So there's a real thing going on there. Now, how do you go from that in a few months to volume production that goes into electric vehicles? That's the more difficult part to understand. However, the other thing I wanted to approach with my interview with Marco is what would be the incentive to lie here? And
Yeah,
obviously, the
it's gonna come out soon.
yeah, soon. That's the thing. It's very soon. It's not like if he says 2 years from now we have this battery that can change the world. It's like yeah, okay. In 2 years we're gonna forget anyway. So if it doesn't happen, it doesn't hurt him too much. But now he says in 10 weeks we know. So the reason he doesn't want to share the chemistry is you can obviously patent that stuff, and I'm sure they're working on that. But patenting specific chemistries it takes time if you don't want your patent to be too revealing, because otherwise your patent is kind of a blueprint to the chemistry. But you can you can hide things in the patent too and still get it, but it gets harder to be approved. Now, the they're working on that, but the idea that in 10 weeks you're going to be able to reverse engineering anyway from the bike is point is that 10 weeks is a long time for them, and they are optimizing that time with the approach of going directly to OEMs instead. So they want to build during those 10 weeks direct relationship with OEMs to sell them the batteries. So they are shipping right now battery packs and cells to those OEMs that basically with the CS announcement they captivated everyone's attention, and now they using that attention to get direct relationship with the OEMs to send the battery, getting ahead of the rest of the industry that's going to find out about the chemistry in the next few weeks if it's real or not. So that logic is sound because 10 weeks is actually a long time if you are optimizing it correctly. So I can get behind that. Now, so now we come back to if it's fake, how do they benefit from it? The only idea that I couldn't think of is that if they're raising money on this. So if they are right now going to VCs and like raising a ton of capital on this based on those promises, yeah, there's you don't have to deliver and you already have the money, and then you can just like fake it until you make it type of deal. Marco assured me, they are not raising money right now. They are getting a ton of interest from a bunch of investor, obviously, but they are pausing any kind of discussion about investment until these OEMs deals go through, and they have independent testing of the cells. So they're working, they say right now, with a bunch of different labs. I tried to get a cell myself. I'm still hopeful we can do something, but they don't want to give it to anyone. They go with those labs, with those cells, because they don't want to let anyone open them. So they want people to confirm the specs and capabilities of the batteries without opening them, which Dan Oberste had a good point here. How do you test 100 cycles in such a short period of time? You cannot. I mean, you even with years you cannot test 100,000 cycles. We have a battery cycler, my new company, and we could try to do that and test it for them. So that's one idea. I'm like, I want to convince them to come to my house with the batteries and test them there, and we film them for Electrek and everything. But we can the cycler wouldn't be worth it that much because you can just make it like a few cycles and try to create a curve of the degradation. But you can actually test the energy density of it. So that alone would be a great deal. And the other thing Marco told me too is like those batteries are in Verge bag for almost a year now in testing. So they've been doing their testing for a while. But even then, over a year, even if you can cycle them every day, like it's you're still so far away from 100,000 cycles that it would be hard to tell. So yeah, I don't see any clear value for Marco and for the lab for for Verge motorcycle to lie here. It's like they don't have nothing to gain, and on the contrary, they have a lot to lose because if in 10 weeks they don't deliver that bike, or there's no independent testing of the cells that prove the capacity, they lose all credibility right away. Like in 3 months, it's you know. The, and it's not like also he and Verge have a lot of bankable credibility to lose here. It's not like
Right.
Elon Musk, for example, can say that in 3 months, robotaxi is going to cover half the U.S. and then it doesn't cover half of Austin in 3 months. It's like par for the course with
Yeah.
Elon, and at least he's
And he
landing
built Tesla,
rockets.
whatever.
Yeah, he built Tesla, so he has some credibility here. I think it's still a terrible look for the guy, but uh, Marco doesn't have that. The Marco, if he turns out it's not true, it's bad. So I don't know, Seth. I'm so confused here because everything screams too good to be true.
Yep.
But then I research it, and instead of most of the time, if I research something like that, it's like within a few hours, within talking to a few experts, I'm being told like, yeah, it's nothing. All right. With this, I cannot do that. My research actually shows that there's real research behind the supposed breakthrough. However, the company is not even confirming that this is the breakthrough, this is the chemistry, this is the research. So it's like, but they have decent reason to not confirm it, and
Right.
they also don't have any clear incentive to lie about it, clear benefit from lying about it. So I'm so confused here. So that's why
Yeah.
my headline is that it's this battery is about to change the world in 3 months or make this guy a fool. It's one or the other.
Yeah. I mean, there probably is like some middle ground where like this battery performs as stated under some optimal conditions, and it's not really as scalable as they said, and it's hard to build. And there's some middle ground or something we're not thinking about. I really hope this is the real deal. Like that would
Yeah.
be amazing for EVs and for everybody else, and it would be just great.
Yeah,
So
that's the trap though. You want to believe too. You want to believe it too. So
yeah.
like I have to take that into account in my
Well, I have that.
conclusion.
I have the I want to believe, but I
Yeah.
also have the we've been lied to 10,000 times. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right though about the middle ground. There's an idea of like maybe like the battery has all these specs, but then when you scale production, just like the Blackstone thing,
yeah,
you found out there's actually a crazy scrap rate of those batteries, and now it's the even though like the battery itself with the material that's in it, it's it makes sense at the cost level, but then when you account where you had to scrap 3 batteries to make that one, it's like, oh, now the cost doesn't make sense anymore. So
yep.
there is that too. But we should find out pretty quickly. He told me things. Marco said like he said they're already preparing for 20 to 30 gigawatt hour next year. So that's where I'm like, like, all right, because I told him to his face, if you're not lying to me right now, you're going to be one of the richest men in the world by the end of this year.
Right.
Donut Lab's going to be one of the biggest company in Europe, or at least Finland, by the end of this year.
Yep.
And Dr. Bella Buscute is going to win the Nobel Prize for the chemistry of that battery. So it's like that's the level we're talking about here. So if we're talking about this level, like you have a lot to deliver.
Right. It's a big deal.
Yep.
All right, let's move to the comments. William Pisano, 7573. Canada is going to make the USA car manufacturers hurt as much as possible by letting China in and cause a market crash in America automotive and sign deals for manufacturing trade euro. He continues, Ford is one of the big sales market in Canada. A lot of other manufacturers will lose job and auto recession starts. There's only 3 countries crappy oil come from: Canada, Russia, Venezuela. The U.S. has some oil too.
Yeah.
If Canada cuts oil from America, gas prices would go up $1 or $2 before the election, and Canada could impact midterm by cutting off oil, but if Trump has, we're going to get in diatribe here.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, the point is that this tariff will hurt the U.S. and I think we
Yeah,
probably covered
I
that.
agree that it's a messy situation. Like there was no reason to go to go hostile in Canada because of a trade deficit. Like you guys have a 300 plus million people market and one of the richest market in the world. We had 40 million people, so of course there's a few things going to sell a lot more to you than vice versa. But it wasn't.
It makes no sense at
Yeah, it
all.
wasn't a leeching parasitic situation with Canada. Like
No,
it's
just a normal trading.
yeah.
Like the population of Canada is the size of California, which is
Yeah.
like what is the deficit with inside the U.S. inside
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
California,
between states, the same thing.
right?
Yeah.
And then I guess that also maybe the population of Canada being the size of California is also something to consider when we talk about how many exports are we going to lose in the
Mm-hmm.
U.S. I mean, it's not going to be the end of the world kind of thing, but I think Canada was certainly one of the biggest export markets for U.S. cars.
Yep.
All right, Rene Pulio 6616 says, I think FSD is closer to being solved. The monthly fee will increase over time. FSD is very good now compared to a year ago.
It's a lot better than a year ago, but no, I don't think there's room to increase the monthly fee because now there's competition at that level. Like 90% of the value of FSD, and if the promise is unsupervised, it's in delivering unsupervised. So yes, if you have a vehicle where you don't have to pay attention, and the owner of the system, Tesla in this case, is responsible if something happens, yes, there's a ton of value for that because it's a personal chauffeur. You have a personal chauffeur, so whatever you would pay a personal chauffeur minus a discount for optimizing for adoption, people would be willing to pay that. It's going to be a lot more than $100 a month, maybe two, three, four. Probably some people would be $500 a month for that, whatever. However, as long as Tesla doesn't take responsibility, there's no more value than taking over your capacity to drive, which for the most part FSD already does that. Like some people are getting 100%. I don't know how they do that because I'm sure not right now with the snow and everything, but I could in the good conditions drive 100% with FSD. It would be a nightmare though because it doesn't drive very well. It takes stupid decision. It slow downs in people's face. Uh, take a turn that doesn't make sense, take the wrong lane, and things like that. But you can do it. So, but how much more value is it if it gets 10% better at doing that, which already can take all of your driving? It's like there's not much value in that, especially if now other products are competing with the same features. So yeah, I don't see the monthly fee increasing. I see the monthly fee going down until they can deliver on supervised, which I don't think they can deliver on the current hardware.
All right. Jesse77 says, definitely glad for price competition. FSD has been awesome and doing great, but $100 has always been a lot. Less per month would be great. Yeah, I guess they could. I wonder if Tesla would offer like autopilot for like $20 or something. Like the highway.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like they use to do enhance autopilot and stuff.
Right. It's handling Houston rush hour traffic a lot better than it would since I'm not familiar with the city. That's one of the nice things about FSD. Protection allows the Model Y to be perhaps still the world's biggest single version EV, but it's over now.
I'm not sure.
I think maybe that was, I don't know. Fred, which Chinese EVs would you be most excited to see for sale in Canada? What is the closest Chinese rival to the Model 3 and the Model Y?
Well, I've discussed that plenty of time. Xiaomi SU7 for the Model 3, YU7 for the Model Y. It is a way better value proposition than those vehicles. Now, I think it would be probably around the same price because they're a little bit cheaper in China right now than the Tesla's vehicles. But they with the tariffs and the transportation costs and everything, they probably be around the same price, maybe a little bit more. But the value proposition would still be Tesla, in my opinion, because it's just a lot more car for the price. Now, do I think that Xiaomi is going to be the first one to come in though, or I don't think so. I think Xiaomi has something like Xiaomi doesn't even sell their personal electronics, I think, right now in China, in Canada. So
wait, wasn't the Xiaomi woman the one who got like kidnapped in Canada or
I think
something?
it's Huawei. I think that's Huawei.
Oh, Huawei. All right.
Yeah, I might be wrong,
No, that's
but
right.
I think Xiaomi might have like similar issues in Canada as Huawei in terms of accessibility to the market. So maybe that's not. I think BYD is gonna be the first one, like most
Yeah.
likely, because they just the expanded in more markets. They're used to it. They have 100,000 employees just for R&D right now. They have a million
Wow.
employees total. It's a giant machine that's great at entering new markets, and they have a lot of so you said the most excited, so I would be super excited. I think if Xiaomi were to come, but I would be super excited too with BYD because they have some very interesting, the Han, the Seal, super incredible vehicles, 1,000 kilowatt charging, dual port, 500 kilowatt each side charging, things like that are just crazy. And then they have the Yang Wang vehicle with the tank turn, the jumping suspension. Like there's just some crazy stuff that would be super fun to drive around Canada. So yeah, there's plenty of to be excited about.
Canada car market is declining, and letting China in will cause American car manufacturers' sales to crash. It's the best way. Oh yeah, we've
Oh,
talked about this guy.
kind of repeating ourselves here.
All right, I subscribed to FSD, but it was not worth the $100 on Hardware 3. With this subscription-only model, they may have more incentive to offer FSD 14X Lite for Hardware 3 CPU Teslas.
I don't know where you're based, Dean, but personally, like I just made the jump from hardware 3 to hardware 4, from V12 to V14, and it is an improvement. But I actually was shocked. I'm like, not on a day-to-day basis. I don't find myself using it more or less. It's again, some of that is because it's the winter right now, and it's FSD is just not optimized for winter driving in the snow and all that. But uh, I used it. Yesterday I came down from Shawinigan to Montreal and used it on the highway, and it was good most of the time when the highway was clear of snow. But I had to take over like a bunch of times if I wanted to get over some like light snow between the lanes and things like that. So yeah, for winter condition, it's just not FSD is just not great.
All right, I rode in the third row Model Y in Norway last summer. My first time seeing it. It was tight, but I fit surprisingly okay for the short Uber trip we took. I just can't get in the back. It is too claustrophobic for me. Like it just does not feel safe at all.
Yeah.
I feel like I get stuck there and never get out. The China Model Y L extra length is okay, but Model Y, no. We're talking about the third row, I think. All right, crash U.S. market, Canada. All right, having been big innovators in the EV industry, Tesla was short-sighted and naive, thinking they will always have a large gap to competitors, hence threats to FSD price hikes.
Yeah,
they were wrong. I think that's
Elon always said it. The main factor is the pace of innovations of a company, and if that pace slow down, it's not a good look. And the pace has definitely slowed down for Tesla's innovation on the EV side of thing, and on FSD. I think, especially with tools like what Nvidia is releasing right now, is like the gap is definitely getting shorter, not wider.
all right. Jesse SCA 77. So excited that Canada gets some Chinese EVs one day. The US might wise up.
Yeah.
Might.
I mean, you see one thing that I could see set.
What's that?
Assuming there's still going to be elections in the U.S. and that
that's a big assumption.
And Puck Spice Palpatine just goes away, and all these cronies and all that just don't get any power anymore. Which I'm still some hope to that, even though some of the rhetoric in the U.S. now is extremely disappointing. I'm disappointed by it from a democratic standpoint and just like a freedom standpoint. But let's say that he goes away in 3 years, and some more reasonable people take over and reestablish more respectable trade with Canada. And then in the meantime, Chinese EVs make ways in Canada and start doing some joint ventures in Canada, start building factories in Canada. Imagine if now they can sell to the US through those factories in Canada, which would be a great deal for Canada and a great deal for US consumers, but it would be extremely bad for American automakers.
Yep.
Something to consider.
Yep. Vancouver has one of the largest Chinese communities in North America and also a huge EV adopter. If BYD and other Chinese brands enter the market, it's game over for Tesla here.
Yeah.
I see that, yeah. I really want the Bronco EV. It's new and it's 32K, but I need to be sure we can register it before I would buy it. It starts at 32K, but in Mexico.
Oh, it's
I,
available in Mexico.
I didn't
Oh,
realize it was
I knew it
available in
was
Mexico.
in China. I didn't know it was in Mexico too.
That's interesting. All right, what will FSD subscription only do to transfer and Lux package?
Oh, I'm gonna surprise you here, Spikes, but Elon didn't mention any of that when he made the announcement. So everyone is asking that. And looks package, I don't know. Maybe like I think for sure FSD subscription now is gonna become an incentive. As when Tesla wants to pull the demand trigger, they're gonna like, oh, FSD included for like 3 years, like things like that. So maybe in the Lux package, it's always included for a few years or something,
Right.
so something of the sort. So that I can see. For subscription transfer, look, going forward, Tesla's going to do everything it can to control the liability that come with its promise of FSD. And one of the biggest tool that they have for that is FSD transfer to newer vehicles. So I think even though Elon's not going to say it, he's going to use it also as a demand trigger and telling you, yeah, I'm not doing any FSD transfer anymore. And then the next quarter he does it. It's going to be like that. So it's going to be going forward. But it's so strange that as a reporter on Tesla, I have to like assume that what the CEO say, like it's going to be the contrary to that. Like you don't see that often.
All right, Eric Poppins 6104 FAFO, which means fork around and find out for the U.S. auto industry bending a knee. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, what happened with Ford this week, and do you heard what Trump said about the chairman of Ford, like the
Bill
actual
Ford?
Ford family, Bill Ford? Yeah.
Yeah. What
Yeah,
he
it
said?
was no. He was caught on a hot mic saying to I think to Farley he was saying, or like someone at Ford while he was visiting Ford. He was like, Bill Ford keeps calling me all the time, and he's like, "Can we get rid of all this environmental shit?"
Jeez, that's funny.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what else we got here. All right, as soon as I heard there's a billionaire investor behind Donut Labs battery, my hopes of this being real crashed. I really hope that they have it, but my hopes are not high.
What billionaire investor?
Yeah, I mean, I know Mercedes is investor. I don't know. The fact that they're saying it's available now is why I'm interested. Either they've got a real product or they've got the world's dumbest scammers.
Yep.
That's that's another alternative title to that story.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit meaner title. Well, full is not exactly nice, but
All right. I didn't hear any reports of anyone having placed an order and expecting delivery this quarter or next. Earliest I've heard is end of 2026, which furthers the doubts that they have a working battery.
he told me that they plan to deliver the bikes this year, starting at the end of the quarter, and all of the pro bikes at Verge that are going to be delivered this year, which they are aiming for like 300 or 500, so it's not like crazy volume or something like that, is are going to have those solid state batteries in them. So that's the claim. So if it doesn't happen, it's we start going through the second half of the headline.
Right. All right. Would any Chinese cars be sold in the United States through the used car market?
Yep.
I guess that could happen.
Yep.
I disagree that commercial airlines will shift to electric because of this battery. Ask Boeing and Airbus where they are with electric. Nowhere.
I mean, it won't happen overnight, but yeah, 400 watt-hour batteries would make commercial airlines, electric commercial airlines work. There's no doubt about it.
Does any of the leadership of Lyft or Uber see themselves as a future mobile electric grid company rather than a rideshare company? Reporting suggests the latter.
I guess I'm not sure. I get like as like bidirectional charging situation. Is that what they mean? Because
I guess
the future of rideshare is obviously electric and autonomous long term. But I don't think bidirectional charging is going to play a big role in that. Maybe to some degree, because there's definitely different, like the usage time changed quite a bit. So at peak usage, you need peak fleet, and then when the users go down, your fleet could potentially be used as for grid services. Yeah, yeah, maybe there's something there.
How much is Donut valued at? If it's real, there would be a hostile takeover by an automaker. Still skeptical that this is a game changer. They're claiming it is.
So my
It's private, so it can't be.
yeah, this is like you said, it's private. But my understanding of this, like I tried to get a read on Marco, and I told them, like if you're lying right now, you should be nervous as hell because in 3 months everyone's gonna know whether you lied or not. And I didn't get from him someone that was like nervous about any of that. What I got from him is like he's someone that has double aces in their hand right now, and he's just trying to optimize them as much as possible by getting the OEMs to put all their chips on the table so he can grab them. That's what I got from him. Now he could be also an amazing liar. I don't know, or he could be like I said, middle ground where he thinks he has something, but he hasn't. He got full, and it's not as good as he think it is. So there's that. But I I don't get like hostile takeover. He said they're not trying to raise capital. Probably don't need to right now. If
Yeah, not at the moment.
yeah.
Yeah, it's looking like this is carbon nanotubes with sodium as the active material, 3D printed. If it is real, I really hope that Donut doesn't get squashed by giant rival industries and regulators. Yeah, that's the tinfoil hat. Like, the oil companies will go just buy up Donut and bury it, right?
Unless he plays his card like perfectly, which it seems like what he's trying to do.
If this is true, the world will be a different place in a few years, and people don't even know what's coming.
Yep, that's right. If it's true.
Donut is backed by Mercedes and Stellantis. Battery will change somebody's world, either everybody or Donut CEO, right? Unlike most batteries, these guys are making insane claims, so testing 100,000 cycles is much easier. Discharging and hypercharging every 6 minutes, so you could, in theory, slam it out in 14 months. All right. I missed the last 2 weeks, so I apologize if a repeat question, but I'm curious your thoughts on Geely potentially bringing Zeekr, et cetera, to the U.S. via the Volvo factory. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what they're already doing is like the Volvo that's going to be announced on the 21st kind of feels like a Chinese EV, the EX60. 400 miles of range, really fast charging. Doesn't sound like it was developed in Sweden.
I mean, the Zeekr Waymo vehicle that's going to come to the U.S. Like, what's that about? Like, where it's going to be built? I don't know. Like, is it?
Yeah, I think that's a Chinese car, and they're just taking the hit.
Taking the hit, 100% tariffs. That's fine.
Yeah. For me, FSD is a great level 2. Still sometimes takes wrong exit in New York City. I don't trust it against other crazy drivers and pedestrians, but on the highway in small towns, it's great.
Agreed.
Yep, same. Do you have a guesstimate how many Tesla sales have been lost in total due to buyers not wishing to buy any product from Elon Musk?
We had that.
One.
Yeah, we had that in the U.S. There was a study in the U.S. that looked. It's hard. It's super hard to make a study on that, but they figured it was about 1 million sales that they lost, like a potential 1 million sales, and Tesla didn't just decline its overall sales globally last year. It also missed out on a 20% bump in EV sales in the world.
Yeah.
And as the EV leader, it should have benefited from that. Just like BYD now, which is now the new EV volume leader in the world. It still grew overall.
Yeah, it's wild that Tesla is, because of one man, losing so many sales, and yet giving that same man billions of dollars in incentives. Like it's just a wild situation. I mean, it's unprecedented. It makes no sense.
Yep.
All right, is the Model 3 third row inside the rear crush zone only put people you don't care about in those seats? I actually did a lot of research. I used to have, about 10 years ago, Tesla Model S with the third row facing back. But they did double reinforce the back end of that. And, something like 90% of accidents are, hit the front of the car. So I don't know. You have to do some math on that. But it is a little scary having little people in the back of your car. I'm wondering how many Verge motorcycles will sell in the next 3 years if everything they claim is true, and how long will car manufacturers take to develop these for auto use? I imagine there's probably going to be a lot of sales to battery manufacturers.
Yeah, everyone's gonna want on. But yeah, I mean, so that's the idea behind like fairy tale scenario here. Like I'm giving you the fairy tale scenario. Like if everything is true, like the idea would be like Verge, small company, developed a crazy motor, crazy hubless motor, real technology, developed it. So and made some progress with electric motorcycle, but doesn't do their own battery, or they do their own battery pack, but not their own battery cells. And being an electric motorcycle company, you're looking for the most energy dense cell possible because you have a small package to put as much energy in there. So you still, even though Verge was selling a high end vehicle too, so still is. So it was hard to get people to buy a $30,000 bike that gets 100 miles on the highway. Not even that. So they were actively looking for the best cells, and the fairy tale would be that as they were looking, this research from Finland comes out and goes unnoticed, because like most battery breakthrough goes unnoticed. They check it, figure out that it actually works, invest in the company, bring them to market for their Verge, and after that go try to sell it to other OEMs. And it's gonna go fast with other OEMs. It's not, I don't think, like once the technology ramps up, it would happen pretty fast. Especially the idea behind it is that those solid cell would be like screen printed. So if the manufacturing process is scalable, fast. Again, a fairy tale scenario I'm giving you right now. I'm not saying that's just what's going to happen.
All right. I'm in California and recently drove a Model Y with 14.2 FSD, and it was notably better than the 12.x FSD on my 2021 Model Y. The biggest enemy to buying or subscribing to FSD is simply free autopilot.
Yeah, like I said, it is better, but it's not. It wouldn't be something that convinced me to upgrade personally. Like I thought it would be at some point. Like I need Hardware 4, but now like the only reason I bought it in December was because I had $9,000 of Tesla credit that was going away. That's the main reason. Hardware 4, I'm like, yeah, it's better, but like I said, most of the driving, Hardware 3, Hardware 4 can be done by the system. Is like the value is in the responsibility, and in both cases, that's the guy that's behind the wheel.
All right. James Whittingham says, where do you think the 49,000 Chinese EVs will be distributed in Canada?
You're gonna have to set up their distribution network, so either through third-party franchisee dealers or setting up their own production, on distribution at la Tesla and Rivian and whatnot.
I wonder how they're gonna divvy it up, or how they're gonna stop at 49,000. Like, is it gonna be like January 3rd? There's gonna be 49,000.
Oh, it's as soon as March. It's happening March 1st.
Oh, it's happening.
Yeah,
like
March
now,
1st
this year. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I also was thinking that. I know, like, how you're going to fight for the quotas and everything. But my understanding is like, if you invest in manufacturing, then you can increase the quota. So I would guess that a lot of Chinese companies right now are looking at potential partnership, joint ventures.
Sorry, just doing the live podcast, but did you interview the Donut Lab guy and find out the volumetric density of the cells? If it's a supercapacitor, it may require a huge volume. I don't think that was the case.
Yeah. Okay. So I did. Well, I didn't even ask about the supercapacitor. He actually shut that down before I even asked it. It's like, this is a battery. It's not a capacitor. It's a battery. Okay. So that's gone. I did ask about the volumetric capacity because like I said, he didn't want to talk about chemistry whatsoever. So I literally had, during the interview, I had to be like, titanium dioxide, what do you think about that? And you were like, nah, I'm not. It's based on my research and everything. So he was like, no, I'm not talking about that. So, but I did ask him about the volumetric density, because my idea, even though by that time, like I know, I think I mentioned supercapacitor in the last podcast, but by that time with my research, I already passed it because I had found the titanium dioxide stuff. But the amorphous nature of the titanium dioxide, because it's more breathable, it's less dense. So yes, at the volume level, not at the weight level, it would be bigger, potentially bigger. But again, this is at the atomic level, so like it breathes more, but like not excessively more. So I thought that if there's something where it could be not as good as lithium-ion cells, it would be at the volumetric density. One red flags, he didn't know the volumetric density. He was looking for it in his head. It was like, I don't actually remember. But then he said it was better than lithium ion batteries. So what do we know?
All right. I guess we'll find out soon.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you'll be able to buy a batteryless motorcycle on the used market for cheap soon.
Maybe. We'll see.
Does Elon's pay package remain in place if the board of directors fires him?
No, I don't think so. If they fire him with cause, I mean, there's cause left and right. You just open his Twitter page. It's just,
right.
It's just, half of it is white nationalist bullshit. Anyway, all right, let's end it there. We're already an hour and a half in. It was a long one, but we had a lot of interesting discussion, a lot of great questions from you guys, a lot of great comments. We always appreciate those of you that watch the show, especially those of you that watch all the way until the end. You're a real one. If you do appreciate the podcast, if you can hit that like button, subscribe, and go if you're listening on your podcast app right now. If you're still listening, also I appreciate you a lot. If you can give us a 5-star rating, if you think we deserve it, that helps the show a ton, and we appreciate when you do it. So that's it for this week. We're gonna see you same time, same place.